At the Movies is back in Taipei again. This time for the Asian premiere of The Mummy with Tom Cruise, Sofia Boutella and Annabelle Wallis. I'm just about to step into the Mandarin Oriental to speak to the director of the movie, Alex Kurtzman. Now I'm going to go back down. So Alex, I'm going to kick things off by asking you about your experience in these monster franchises, because you've worked with some great franchises already. You've worked with some of the greats, Abrams, Michael Bay, Jon Favreau. What is it like making that transition from writer to directing your own tentpole?
Those directors were all very generous with me, and they allowed me to watch them make the films that we would work on together. And I got to experience firsthand what it was like to watch them direct these movies and to handle sets like this and deal with stunts and to deal with movie stars and actors and to manage the experience of making a big film. And I always wanted to direct, and I always saw writing as a means of getting there. And I feel like my time with all those directors gave me a certain confidence to feel like, okay, I want to try.
And was there anything in particular that you learned from those three directors?
So much, so many different things. I've worked with JJ the most. What I love so much about working with JJ is that he is always looking for what is emotionally honest about the experience. Now, you can create something huge and big and supernatural and have all these amazing things going on, but he's always most focused on the small emotional moments between characters. And I think that's something that can get lost when you're making big movies. And watching him do that so regularly has been a real inspiration for me.
Yeah, and I think we saw that in Fringe, we saw that in Star Trek. Tell me about the burden of setting up a franchise though, because a lot of the time you can't just make one movie, you've got to set up the next 6. I mean, it almost killed Whedon when he was doing it. What was that like for you? I
have to look at these things as how I would want to experience them as a viewer. Obviously there's all kinds of pressure to do that, but your job in a weird way is to try and tune all that out and say, what do I want? And I can tell you that what I respond to the most as a viewer are films where I'm getting a satisfying story, first and foremost, and if it's opening the door to something bigger, that's fine, but I need to fall in love with the characters before you smash them all together. Obviously, we are opening the door to the dark universe and to the films that are coming, but I knew that this had to be a satisfying mummy story, first and foremost, and that it had to be a satisfying story for Aminet's character and for Nick's character and for Jenny and all the characters in the film. And if we could deliver that for you and open the door, then that would be great.
I think that's something that Marvel's done very well. They took their time in building up those characters.
That's exactly right.
Talk to me about these franchise films. They still seem to do really well with audiences. I mean, we're talking multi-billion-dollar takings at the box office, and yet critics keep talking about franchise fatigue. Is that something that you guys even think about in that room?
You have to think about it, but I think one of the things that defines us as being different from, say, superhero films, that are so many superhero films, is that there's an expectation when you go to those franchises that the characters are... I don't relate to a superhero. I love a lot of those films. I mean, I'm a huge fan of them, but I'm not a superhero. And when you're making these movies, one of the things that I love most about the monster films is that there's an assumption that the characters are broken and that they're not going to get fixed, because if they get fixed, they're not monsters anymore. That's very different than anything else that comes with all those other films that inspire what you call franchise fatigue. So since we're at the beginning of something, I think it's more about coming up with original ways to tell these character stories in a backdrop that's as massive as anything you'd see if you were going to go to a, take your pick superhero movie.
Wonderful. Alex, thank you so much.
Thanks so much.